Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Extra Mile for today, August 6th, 2020. And we want to start this episode by remembering the tragedy that happened a couple of days ago in Beirut, in the country of Lebanon. 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate devastated the main port of the country, which also is the port in the capital of the country of Lebanon. The explosion decimated the surrounding area, blasted out windows, and caused extensive damage to most, if not the entire city. At last count, there was over 100 people dead, thousands more injured, and we just want to take time to do a short moment of silence to remember those affected by this terrible incident. Thank you. This is an incident that has obviously gained international attention, mainly because of just how it happened. As I bring in my co-hosts for this evening, Lita Camello and Michael Ward. Lady and gentlemen, from what it looks like, either a warehouse full of fireworks or something holding fireworks was ignited, and that fire jumped to a facility carrying where that was holding this massive amount of ammonium nitrate, and it just sounds like something you would see in a B-rate action movie or like a cartoon somewhere, but it actually happened in real life. And I think that's the one thing I've struggled with the last couple of days, is coming to grips with how this exactly happened. Hold on, Lita. Some reason you guys are not coming through. Hold on for a second. I don't know. I thought everything was working.
It's great.
Oh, there we go. All right. So continue.
Should I do my little jingle? No.
Yeah, you're good. Continue.
No.
I fixed it.
Well, okay. So it's weird because you don't think about these things being an issue in your home or anything. Like, you don't think there's it doesn't come to your mind that, oh, there might be something that contains that amount of an explosive something or other to that quantity that could hit that type of range and do that amount of damage in seconds if anything goes wrong. But the reality is, there are a lot of places like that everywhere, and it just happened that the one most unlikely thing that could potentially happen happened. And, you know, at first, I think when I first saw the headlines, I thought it was just another bombing or something, which I will play my absolute ignorant card there, because that you hear about things more often like that. But when I finally was actually shown what it was and read into it, it is a little mind-blowing. You don't want to think that you could be in danger of those types of things, but in reality, we are. And it sucks that of all times that it could potentially happen, it's in the middle of a massive worldwide pandemic. So now not only you have hospitals that are trying to keep up with COVID, but they're also trying to keep up with injuries. And now you've got people who wouldn't necessarily be in these hospitals to try to heal their broken bodies from the explosion that are now also, you know, nearby or close to the wards of COVID, which I'm sure they're trying to keep. But it's the worst situation that you could find. I mean, there are some terrible ones out there, and we could make a list all night, really. But this is not a good situation to have now of all times. And my heart goes out to them. It's just absolutely terrible and terrifying. The video I saw, I thought the guy was going to get hit by the blast, and of course he made it, because it made it, you know, his video made it on social media. But still, just, I don't know what I would do if I was standing there and saw something like that and be like, all right, this is the end.
Yeah, there were several videos that I saw that just you sit there for a couple of minutes and you're just praying, I hope this person is all right, because there was especially from close up. Like, you've seen these explosions in movies all the time. This was real life what happened. Like, those big blockbuster explosions you would see in, like, a Die Hard or something like that. This is what happened to these people. Yeah, anything Michael Bay did, this is what happened to these people. And there's somebody just on the road, down the street is the explosion, he's driving, and it just wipes the street out. Thankfully, they were okay, because obviously they posted the video, but you just pray for these people if you're a praying person. And as we're going to get into the racing conversation, I don't know if this show will even reach Lebanon. I really don't. But if it does, and someone from there just happens to be listening and they're a racing fan, I just hope for the next hour or so we can give you a little bit of a distraction from what's going on. Yes. And some people may say certain individuals don't deserve a distraction right now, but if there's one group of people that could use just getting their minds off something for a little while, it would be the people of Beirut, Lebanon right now. So we're going to go ahead and get into the program, and we will start with a Formula One British Grand Prix that on paper Lewis Hamilton only won by 5 seconds. But this is, but this is one of those races that the stat sheet does not tell the story of what happened in this race, because Lewis was basically running away with it, and then tire degradation became a thing. Lita, what did you think about this?
One of the few times where he complains about his tires that it's actually a problem. Sorry. But seriously, I mean, I think he did an outstanding job finishing in the condition of which he was in. And man, when he complains about tires, that one was actually legitimate. Yes. But I mean, the sad part was it seemed like everybody was having that issue. So it was a comical race in a sense towards the end there. Also, Kvyat crashing out was kind of, it just brought back some of the old days. But the tire situation is an issue because I feel like, had we seen one, maybe two tires on the same team maybe go out, okay. But it was kind of spreading. It reminded me a lot of the really hot Indy 500 we had a couple of years ago, where the heat was just way too much and tires were blowing up left and right. They just could not handle the heat. They could not handle the pace. So it was just unexpected. So it was kind of starting to feel like that. Watching the end of the race was like, ooh, this is, I mean, I think Sainz had to go in for Sainz had to go in for tires like in the last 3 laps. Like, not usually necessary and usually much more planned out, but the tires were just degrading at very odd rates. So,
and Michael, we've seen this before. It seems like Silverstone, because of the high speeds, especially with how the cars are set up now, these bigger, wider tires, there's a lot more heat being transferred into the rubber. And with Silverstone being harsh on tires at the best of times, it feels like this is a race where they were pushed to their breaking point, and unfortunately the tires just broke.
Yeah, it just seems like, because we saw this before in 2013. I mean, back when Pirelli tires were at their absolute weakest. Tire temperatures were hot. You know, a lot of the drivers were riding the curbs, and of course, you know, a lot of tires exploded that day. We all remember Lewis Hamilton being in the lead and his tire blew out. Sad that didn't happen today, but anyway.
Well, it did, but we'll get to that.
It did. I just needed it to happen, you know, a lot earlier. Also, we got to talk about that decision. And you know what decision I'm talking about. Pitting. Stopping.
I know the one you're talking about, and that's going to lead into the talk about what we're going to get to now, which is Lewis Hamilton coming down for the last lap. He's basically cruising, and then on the back half of the track, the left front tire just falls apart, And Lita, at this point, he's 40 seconds up on the rest of the field. And he just puts around on 3 tires. And you see Verstappen in the background as he's coming up the hangar straight. Verstappen's coming at full speed, and Lewis is just putting around and still crosses the line in 5 seconds. And I think I said on Twitter, what the field needed to happen for them to beat Mercedes happened, and Lewis still won. How deflating is that?
I mean, not even just deflating, but what does that say about the gap between the team's abilities and the competitiveness? The fact that he had a 40-second lead, which, by God, most of the time if you see leads like that, I feel like should be more reserved for a sports car race, like a long-term race, not Silverstone in the afternoon for an F1 race. Like, that just is ridiculous. And then the fact that he still won and only lost 35 seconds, still had a 5-second lead, which in most cases, if everybody's tires are working, 5 seconds is a lot. Like, they can barely pass each other with 1 second between the two of them. So that's still that's still a large lead, and he didn't lose. How? Like, this is why they needed to do the changing of the rules and the changing of the budgets, because of this exact situation. Yeah, the fact that he's on 3 tires and he still won with 5 seconds.
Yeah, this basically proves everything right about what FIA is going to do with the cars in 2022 now instead of 2021 because of, pandemic. And I feel like I've been saying that a lot recently, but it's the truth.
Anyway, COVID?
Yeah, that's basically my answer for a lot of things ever since we've gotten back to racing. But we see how Mercedes just utterly dominates on 3 wheels, and you're like, yeah, I'm glad these 2022 regulations are coming in. But before we switch to what happened in the NASCAR race, let's get into it. We'll start with Michael and go to Lita. Red Bull decides to bring Max Verstappen to pit lane to go for the fastest lap, and then the tire falls apart on Lewis Hamilton's car. Verstappen probably could have won that race. Actually, if he doesn't pit, he wins the race because he would have been close enough. What do you guys think of the decision for him to come and pit?
Oh, I bet you Christian Horner is kicking himself left and right this week.
Yeah, he was. And also, yeah, you could have just went for the wide pit, like really wide pit.
Jesus. If he was on Haas, he'd be called a wanker by now. For that one. Let's be real.
Look, I don't know what the filming is like right now for F1 Drive to Survive. I don't know what they can and cannot do with this pandemic going on, but if they are filming for this season, this is the race I can't wait to see, because I want to see Horner have to explain why he pulled the car in and did not stay out. Which I get it, you don't expect the 2 cars in front of you to have the tires fall apart within a lap of each other, but man, does it look bad in hindsight.
Yeah, oh, yeah. It really does.
But I mean, at the same time, it's a fast-moving sport. You're going quickly. Seconds matter, and you have to make decisions very quickly.
Also, why get the fastest lap for bonus point? You're finishing 3rd anyway.
They're trying to at least keep the gap down to. They're trying to keep the gap down to Bottas at that point. Is what they're thinking about. Unfortunately, they didn't think a chance to win the race was coming, so I don't know what to tell them. I can't really be mad at Horner for what he did, because they're thinking in the moment and not of, well, what's this going to be fanciful scenario that you wouldn't even expect. So I know there's a lot of second guessing, but it is what it is. And if I don't get this right, I'm just going to call him T. Tyrion is in the chat, and he says he can't wait for us to get to Robbie Gordon's son, because Max is actually going to be driving, But y'all have no idea how old Max is. I'm going to save that. You're going to have to listen all the way to the show to get to that, because I think we're going to have diverging opinions about it, because Lita and I already talked about it, and we definitely have different thoughts about this. But before that, we're going to shift over to the NASCAR race, Foxwoods Casino 301. That was a race that was won by Brad Keselowski. And Michael, I told you this before we went on the air. I really feel like now Brad is in that conversation as a championship contender. And I said this when we were doing the USRN broadcast as well. The first 2 wins he's had on the season have basically been because Chase Elliott's crew chief or Chase Elliott made a boo-boo. This time he actually had a good car, actually went against Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney for the most part for a good chunk of this race and came out ahead. I really think now BK is the champ, BK is now a serious championship contender. And yes, finally, I got Taryn's name right. Mark it down to your calendars, August 6, 2020. I finally pronounced his name correctly.
Great job, Darryl. Proud of you, man.
Thank you. Anyway, so my question to you, Michael, is what do you think of Keselowski's situation? What do you think of his championship chances now?
I think they're great. I think he just needs to keep on the momentum. But like I told you at the beginning of the show, I really still think it's just going to come down to Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin. It's just those 2 performances have been spot on, and I just can't see anyone catching up to them just yet. But we'll see, because momentum is something that can definitely be earned in NASCAR, and if you have it and know how to channel it, you can do some great things with it.
On the other side of that, one driver unfortunately got his walking papers today, and it wasn't really a surprise to anyone. Eric Jones is out of the seat. Christopher Bell now in the seat for the 20. Lita, we've seen this in racing, no matter the category. You got that young driver that everybody's talking about. He needs a seat. You're in an established seat and unfortunately aren't doing well. All of a sudden, you're out. That new guy is in. I know Eric hasn't had, or really anybody over at JGR not named Denny Hamlin has not had the most luck this season. Kyle Busch especially, good night. Martin Truex Martin hasn't even been that great this season, but Kyle Busch, good. He's been bad. What do you think Jones is feeling right now, and what can he do to try and shake up things for the rest of the season to try now basically to shop for another job, be it that 48, the 42, or depending on what happens with Bubba Wallace, even maybe the 43?
I mean, I feel like it's such a crapshoot this season because they're not really doing the practices, and so everybody's just kind of in this muddled funk where you don't have the crowd to vibe off of necessarily. You can't practice. You can't tune things. You're just kind of like,
what do I do?
Figure it out as you go. So, like, it sucks because if you're not doing well this season, like, you know, is it really fair to boot you with all that's going on? I don't know. You know, I feel like, yes, you show up there to perform, but we also have to kind of consider all the things we're working with right now. Now, if you were doing crappy before and you're still doing crappy, okay, I know it doesn't give you, the season doesn't really give you a chance to make any progress, let alone to even keep consistent with what you typically do, because it's like I said, it's a crapshoot. So I don't know what he can do. I don't know what anybody can do at this point aside from cure COVID.
I think if he does that, he'll get more than a few rides. All I'm going to say, all that new money he's going to have in his pocket.
He could just buy his rides. He's good. Yeah, make your own team. Go big or go home.
Yeah, this season's been a crapshoot, and it's going to get a lot crappier. We'll explain later on in the program, but this week they're going to Michigan, Caitlin's neck of the woods. She will be back eventually.
And my neck of the woods.
Yes.
You know.
Lita's neck of the woods as well. I keep forgetting she's also in Michigan. Cannot wait for you two to link up. I don't think the state of Michigan is ready for that just yet. But
It is not.
Before we go to break, I just want to shout out some of our team members that are also in action tonight. Brandon Buckingham and Blake Henley are right now on StreamYard broadcasting the Astros at Diamondbacks. Check them out over at StreamYard.com. Search IE Sports Radio. And Big T, Taryn Rodriguez and Corey Walker, they're going to have the live call of the Lakers and Rockets on our Mixler channel, IE Sports Radio on Mixler, at 9 p.m. Eastern. So basically, once this channel is over, head on over there and listen to them call some great NBA bubble basketball that is getting pretty chippy, and I love it. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get into some of the topics that we have for the program, and we're going to start with that question of how young is too young to go big-time racing? Talk about that on the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
Hey, what's up, sports fans? You're looking for a different type of sports talk show, something you haven't heard before? You got to check out the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday on 2 Live Stews Radio, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sports talk at its finest. Always have great guests, playing some good hip-hop. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in to the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Here comes the pitch, and it comes in wide.
On the BS3 Sports Show.
Welcome to the BS3 Sports Podcast. We hope your experience with us is amazing. Sports talk, comedy, social issues, and more. BS3 is the best source.
Well, we can dig it, and I hope you can dig it too. Welcome back to the Extra Mile here on IE Sports Radio, your feed for all that is sports. Marcus looks great hanging out with us in the chat line. Taryn has to go and get ready for his broadcast here in a little bit. He's going to try and listen as long as he wants to. Thank you too for hanging out in the chat room. And if you want to chat with us, head on over right now, Spreaker.com/IESportsRadio. Find the Extra Mile. Click on that. You'll see us live. Click on the button and get in on the chat room if you got any questions or comments for us. So we're going to continue with some of the topics that we had for today that don't really, some of these, actually the first one, doesn't really link to a motorsport that we talk about that often, or to be honest, at all, stadium super trucks. But the reason I brought this up, because I saw this when I got up this morning. They're going to have a new driver in the race in Road America this weekend. And this article comes from the checkeredflag.co.uk. Robbie Gordon will have some very familiar company racing against him in Saturday's Stadium Super Trucks event at Road America. On Tuesday, his 12-year-old son, Max Gordon, announced he will make his Stadium Super Trucks debut on the Elkhart Lake Road Course, driving the number 77 Speed Energy Speed RC Cars Menards truck. I did a double, triple take the minute I saw this, because he is 12. he is in the 6th grade and is going to be whipping one of these stadium super trucks. And if you've seen them, they have a proclivity for flipping over a lot. Yeah. And someone posted a video of him and Robbie when Max was 8. And he's whipping this truck like an adult, to be fair. Like, he is thrashing this thing. And it's absolutely incredible. But my question is, how old or how young is too young to start throwing these kids into these big-time, high-horsepower vehicles? Because, to be honest, most of these cars I'd rather put a 12-year-old in than a regular passenger car. But at the same time, should they? Lita, what do you feel about it?
It's a weird thing, and for me, I guess when I read it, it's like I feel like the sanctioning body, let alone the team itself, would not allow a 12-year-old to drive if they didn't feel that it was safe enough. Now, we've had stadium super trucks over in the U.S. They usually run at the Detroit Grand Prix. They didn't last year, but they typically do. And they're actually a little bit smaller than your stereotypical truck. They're not as big as you think they are. They are obviously lifted in crazy suspension to be able to hit all those ramps and stuff, but it is a little different. So I'm not so worried about the size and whatnot. And like you said, he actually handles it really well. Like, I watched a couple of videos, and honestly, there are some people that race with less, that make more money in bigger things and are much more adult and can't handle their cars like that in Grosjean. Anyways, so that was for you guys. But no, seriously. So it's, I mean, kids race. And I made the point to you, I think, about Moto America, which that's motorcycles. But to be fair, at least the trucks are enclosed. These are motorcycles. And in the Junior Cup, you've got 14-year-olds that are racing 400cc bikes standard. Like, that's what they race. That's crazy. Okay. And that's only 2 years older. So, and these are kids that are training to be able to race in series like MotoGP someday. So you got to look at it as, you know, I think in a lot of cases that the vehicle itself is only dangerous when you don't know how to drive it. If he knows how to handle it, and you've got the safety equipment is made to protect him, I feel like it's okay. Like, yeah, 12, I can't imagine myself doing this in 6th grade. And like I told you today, that was 20 years ago, and that's terrifying. 20 years ago, me was not capable of doing this, but he's been around it his whole life.
20 years ago, me was not mature enough to walk to the 7-Eleven down the street from here, get a soda, and come back without getting lost. I don't know what I would be in a stadium super truck.
But he's also grown up around it, so, you know,
yeah,
I think there's something different. There's going to be people who can handle things way better that are around it all the time compared to you and I who have not been around it. Like, there are things that I handle better because I've been doing it for a long time. And then maybe at that age, I would be more inclined or capable of taking something on like that. But not everybody is. And in this case, he's grown up around it. Obviously, he was really interested in it. His dad let him play it. And he's just that good. And,
well, the funny, I want to back up real quick. So just remember, so you talk about the sanctioning body. It's kind of different when the sanctioning body is literally run by your dad.
Yeah, I guess in that case, it's one thing. But again, there are rules in place. There are safety things put in place. If he did not think that it was safe, I don't know that he would do it. Or maybe it is a dangerous thing. I don't know. I'm just thinking there's so many things put into racing to ensure safety and confidence that everybody else is also safe. That would not be a light decision to make.
Yeah. And, Michael, I'll swing it to you. And the more that I've thought about it, the more I'm like, you know what? Good luck to the kid, because I wouldn't be able to do this, but I'm much more okay with it than I was this morning. So when you look at the trucks, they are pretty well snug in there. But my one thought about this, maybe I'm a little question, but I'll throw this to Michael, then back to Lita. What is the appropriate age for these kids, if we want to think about it, to be doing it? Because we know NASCAR, when Kyle Busch was like 16, 17, and like he was going to get a cup car, they quickly shut that down and put in the age requirement that you have to be this old to run on tracks bigger than a short track, and the FIA has a minimum requirement of 16 before you can go for super license points and things like that. Do you think we really need to think of a universal standard age of how old you can be before you climb behind a wheel of something like a stadium super truck, or faster than that?
I think you do, because a lot of the time racing is dangerous as itself, and you don't want somebody so young to get involved in something that's this dangerous. I know I'm speaking like a parent, but you know, I just think that racing, if it's for kids, and kids aren't really like that much in danger, I can understand. But the stadium trucks, they tend to flip over, and
well, anything can do that, though.
Exactly, but stadium trucks, they sometimes
think about Billy Monger.
Yeah, that was rough.
Racing is dangerous in general, and I don't think that we should completely, I know it's a child and people want to keep them safe, but also that child has the inclination and that child wants to participate. They understand the risk, and especially in this case, like I said, you've grown up around it. Like, it's different just being like, oh, I saw it in a video game and it looks really cool, and so you think respawning is a thing, among other things, and that's a whole other thing that we don't need to get into tonight.
Mom, I'll just respawn.
Sorry, now I'm going through all the memes in my head of, how you doing? Are you winning, son?
I mean, this literally could happen, because Robbie and his son are going to be in the race. He could just pick up the radio, like, are you winning, son?
Are you winning, son?
Oh, God. Anyways, sorry, before we digress too far on this. But really, the question I think we need to ask, obviously, I think once you start getting into the single digits, there's a question of really what kind of machinery can you handle. I don't think that racing should be really limited to age, per se, because I think that there are drivers in some of the highest levels of motorsport that could use some maturity and skill ability to be able to do what they do. I don't know how they got there. Well, actually, no, we know how they got there. Money. But I really think it needs to come down to skill. It's just like taking a road test. Like, literally, there are people on the road that have been driving, quote unquote, for 40 years and should not be driving because the skills are not there. It doesn't come down to age. It comes down to your ability. So if the kid...
I feel like Lita is talking about Maryland drivers, but that's just me.
Oh, boy.
All United States drivers, sir. It's much better in Canada.
Why do you think we have a hard time getting in Formula One? Oh, I'll stop.
Right? It's because we love flipping the bird a lot, too. But anyways, a lot of that happening in some of our races, IndyCar. Anyways, but I really think it does come down to a skill rather than age. If you can demonstrate the maturity and the ability to handle a vehicle in a comfortable and skillful manner that, shows that you can drive it in certain circumstances, why can't you not do that? Yeah. Why does it have to come down to you have to be... Now, yeah, maybe there should be a minimum age, like 10 or 12. Like,
yeah.
I feel like 10-year-old me was excited. I got a Winnie the Pooh watch as a kid for my birthday, and my aunt made a big deal about me hitting the double digits. And woo, 10, like, cool. If somebody was like, you're going to go race like a car, I would be like, that sounds super cool. But also, like, how am I going to do that at 10 years old? And if I'm short now, imagine what I was like at 10. So, maybe there is a little bit of limitation in your size, but there's always ways to build around that. So maybe a little bit lower of a minimum, but really basing it on scale. Like, okay, don't put a 5-year-old in a car. Duh.
Please don't. Yeah, it's, and I hear it, and I understand what you guys are saying. It's just, one thing I will say, it's going to be real funny if Robbie ends up turning his son over in this race this weekend.
Dad, you flipped me.
The memes are going to be awesome. One more note for Robbie and Max before we move on. Max is actually the youngest driver to compete in and finish the Baja 1000. So this kid already has a lot of racing already going on right now, as he did that in 2016. So he's been in the trucks a lot, and he's probably got a lot more experience than most 12-year-olds his age. So,
and like I said, that's where I think the skill really does play its part. But we'll let you all make your own assumptions and decisions, and just let us know.
Yep. So we shall move on to the next piece of information, and unfortunately this piece of information isn't going to be as funny as what we just talked about. Unfortunately, we have to talk about the business implications of not having fans at the Indianapolis 500 this year, as recently, unfortunately, Roger Penske and everyone at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway lost the battle with COVID-19, as numbers in the county that the Speedway is located in have tripled and the positivity rate has gone up. It's basically made it so that there is no other choice but to host the Indianapolis 500 without fans. And local businesses are going to lose out on an economic impact that USA Today is saying is upward of $336 million that they're going to be missing out on. But unfortunately, new cases of COVID-19 in Marion County have not slowed down. In fact, they have skyrocketed since June 26th, when they first made decisions to start limiting how many people were going to be at the Speedway. So
they've tripled, actually.
Yep. Oh, that's exactly what it said in the article. And Lita, Michael, this is another situation where we look at this pandemic, and unfortunately it's affecting our sports in a way that's negative, and the people around the sports that make money off the sport passively aren't going to see that money, and now it's a question of what's going to happen for their business. And at the end of the day, I wish we could have people at the Indy 500 to watch this race, but with the COVID-19, it's just not possible. But unfortunately, that's not really solace to the business owners. They'll be missing out on a lot more money than what they're already missing right now.
I mean, it's a terrible thing to have to not host such a historic event without fans, but you got to remember, this disease is terrible, and you got to think about it. What if the drivers catch it? And what if the fans, by the thousands catch it? And it's not going to be a good thing. And I think that's the best decision, is to go without fans. I know the business implications are going to be bad, but you got to think about everybody's lives here, especially like right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll be honest. Okay. So first, I do want to share one thing that I thought was funny is the ticket situation for those of us that had tickets when you went onto the site to try to you could, reserve them for next year instead or keep your tickets. And it was not very easy to figure out. So apparently I still had tickets. So I called the week before and had to wait to find somebody to cancel my tickets and put that credit towards next year. So I did all that work, and then it was canceled anyways for fans. So thanks, guys. Anyway, but in all essence, I am relieved. I can tell you right now that I was disappointed and frustrated with friends and people that I know that we're still going to go forward with going. And I think it was more, it just felt really incredibly irresponsible. And I know that that sucks to hear for everyone, but you think about it and, you know, the businesses I hate seeing. I do not, in all honesty, I don't know what things are going to look like after this is all done, because everybody is just losing money left and right. You know, they just said that a third of businesses in New York might not exist after this. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot of things. So it's hard to wrap your head around what that's going to do to the surrounding businesses and for the industry, for the economy in general. But on the other side, what would have happened if all of those people had attended, and I didn't even think about this until a couple weeks ago reading another article, but yeah, so you only have, you know, like 25% of the crowd there. Okay, so it's what, 70, 75, 80,000 people, and you have, and it's not limited like NASCAR has had more of those radiuses, like a certain mile radius. These are people from all across the country. So now you have all these people traveling across the country, whether plane, train, automobile. I love that movie, but beside the point. So all the places that they're going to interact with on the way, not all of those states have, like our state right now has a mask mandate where if you do not wear a mask inside a business or at a large gathering outside, you will be fined. You have to wear a mask. You cannot enter. You will be turned away at businesses and other places if you do not have a mask on. And some other states are following suit, but not all of them. So people who might not take it as seriously are traveling. They don't have their masks. They're crossing. So whatever they pick up along the way, whatever they're bringing with them, and they're coming to the city and they're doing things like restaurants. And yeah, you can distance people, give them masks and have hand sanitizer at the race. But what about the hotel? What about the dinners? What about lunches? What about the gas station?
And that's even if people will put the masks on, by the way.
Exactly. Well, I think they were going to be mandated at the Indy 500. So if you were caught without it, there were going to be repercussions.
Yeah, but we've seen already what people do with these mask mandates, how they assault people that are just trying to do their job. So it's like, even with bringing the people and requiring them to wear masks, this was just going to be a disaster for those poor ushers that are going to have to try and enforce this thing. And it's unfortunate that we're here, and unfortunately, it's just another failing of the federal response to this virus, and I just don't know when things are going to be back to normal.
And I don't know if they will be, but again, to finish my thought here, you know, in having all of what could be mandated or isn't mandated, and having, we'll just say 80,000 people from everywhere bringing whatever with them, and interacting with all these people and then sending them all back home. Can you imagine what would happen if all of those people were still here and they all went home? And the numbers, what would happen to the numbers across the country? I think Penske did I know that it was more the state and the city were like, we really can't do this right now. But I think it was a good idea from all parties that they did it, because you don't want that blood on your hands. And I know it's not necessarily blood, but the consequences of that event, if anything would have gotten through there, would be devastating. And that in itself would be worse than just not having fans at the Indy 500. Like, I think hands down, I'd rather see all of those people living and let us all watch it from home and let an amazing race happen and be comfortable and safe than have all those deaths on our hands.
Yeah.
So I hate that that's a morose ending, but it is what it is. It's COVID. I think that's the thing that people are having a hard time wrapping their heads around. And if they don't see it, what is the risk?
Yeah, I mean,
the risk is death.
At the end of the day, just even 25% of people in that facility would not have gone well in a county where the numbers have absolutely blown through the roof. But we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to have some fun at the end of this program. And as Taryn says, wear your mask. I know
Please.
he's got to... Yeah, and I know
yes,
he's got...
Taryn.
Yes. And I know he's got to go get ready for his broadcast. Head on over, if you want to listen to that, to Mixler.com. Check out iSports Radio on Mixler at the conclusion of this broadcast for coverage of NBA bubble basketball. The seeding game's going on. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to try and make heads or tails of what NASCAR decides to do when they don't want to have qualifying for the rest of the season. We'll be right back.
What's up, everybody? This is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you. Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with lists of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the college, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
And we're back for the final segment of tonight for this episode of the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And NASCAR has decided, as we found out earlier this season, not to have practice or qualifying for the rest of the season, as teams really don't want to put backup cars together for the rest of the season, given the monetary situations with COVID-19 and all of that. That we understand. However, NASCAR has had to come up with a way to set the field that is not a random draw when something like the playoffs are coming up. So NASCAR has decided to do the following, and we're going to try and make some heads or tails of it right now. This is coming from SpeedwayDigest.com. Beginning with next week's race at the Daytona Road Course event, NASCAR will now use 3 competition-based performance metrics to determine the starting lineup, including the Busch Pole Award in the NASCAR Cup Series and the Cometic Gasket Pole Award in the Gander RV and Outdoor Truck Series. Did not even know that had a sponsor. And the pit selection order for each race, replacing the random draw procedure that has been in place for a majority of races since NASCAR's return to Darlington return to racing at Darlington Raceway in May, This is how the metrics will be weighed. The metrics will be weighted and averaged to establish the starting order. Points position will be weighted at 35%. finishing position at 50%, that's 50%, and fastest race lap at 15%. These three numbers will be added up, and they will figure out, or not add up, they will do some math to those three numbers, and will figure out your starting position that way. I can already tell you that Lita had to read it 4 times to figure out what they were going on, what they're trying to do. This is my first time reading it out loud, and I'm confused. Michael, I think this is the first time you're actually hearing it. What is your thought about this?
So we're stupid.
Wait, are we stupid, or is NASCAR's thing stupid? Or both?
No. I just need them to assume that people are stupid.
Oh, okay. So people as a whole
are stupid.
Uh-huh.
Well, I mean, America's already proving that, but continue.
I ain't even gonna hold you. But anyway. I just need them to assume that people don't know what the hell that means.
Mm-hmm.
And just not do that at all, please. Because hearing that confused me. All I got from that was that if my driver does well, then he will place well.
Mm-hmm. Here is the thing. Here is how I've set the metrics for the future for any NASCAR decision. If Bob Pockrass has to take time out of his day to make more than 5 tweets about it, we probably shouldn't do it. Because this poor man is now going to have to try to explain this 57,000 times to a fan base where most things go in one ear and out the other almost instantly. I don't understand how this is better than just qualifying the cars. Like, you're really telling me we can't just have the cars go out, do a lap this Sunday morning, and look, if you wreck the car, you don't make the race. They just do it like that if we don't want to bring backup cars. This is not better. This is just more confusing, convoluted mess that people are still going to say that NASCAR is rigging the sport by doing it when their favorite driver doesn't get a good position. I just don't understand what they're trying to do with this.
Roll like 20-sided dice and then see who gets the highest number, and fuck, that'd be more fun and accurate than this stupid rocket science fictional number scope, whatever they've created. Like, what the hell? Let's make this as mathematically complicated, which, you know, all it is somebody created an Excel sheet with some, you know, some sort of formulas in it, so then they could be like, oh, there, now we know where they go.
Yeah.
Roll a freaking dice. Draw your name. Like, oh my god, literally do what they do for the Indy 500 for when you're doing, for the qualify, for bump weekend. And just put numbers into a hat and draw. Done. That is easier.
Yeah, here is my
Digital
thought. Yeah, here is my thing. I would much rather them just continue the random draw for the rest of the season, or even just start doing it by points when we get to the playoffs, since the top 16 are going to start in the front anyway, rather than this mess. Because I just don't get it. A lot of other people don't get it, and it's just going to cause a whole bunch of unnecessary nonsense that just could be getting solved by just qualifying the cars. Every other series has figured out how to qualify without needing a backup car. I don't know why NASCAR can't.
Who comes up with these ideas for NASCAR? Because, I mean, between the stages and this, I'm really questioning the lucky idiot that gets to be like, oh, guys, I've got it.
I mean, I like the stages. It's just this I don't like. and I know we're on opposite sides of that, but I get the merits of the stages. I don't get the merits of this.
Oh, there are no merits. It's dumb, and somebody, again, Excel spreadsheet. It's just some formulas in an Excel sheet, and they're like, this works.
Yeah.
Whatever works for you guys, but it's dumb. There's not a lot we can do about it. That's how they're setting the field this year, or for the rest of the season. Please let us be able to qualify next year at the start of the season, even though COVID is still going to be a thing, because it is. I just need this to not be a thing, but it is going to be a thing, and it's frustrating. They should qualify. If they're not going to let the actual cars run, they should do an iRacing qualifying. That would be funny.
I'm fine with qualifying that.
Race? I'm there for that.
Yeah.
Hey, NASCAR, we got an idea for you.
NASCAR.
We already used it for the iRacing Invitational. Most of the drivers already have the simulators in their house now. Just run qualifying on there, take the times, and line them up. I'd rather do that than deal with this.
Exactly. And whatever NASA scientist you hired to do the math, you can save some money.
Yep. So we have about 4 minutes to go. That means we have some picks we have to make for nearest the win before we get on out of here. And I was going to say we had Indy this week, but with that race getting pushed back in Mid-Ohio due to, well, you should already know by now, COVID.
Hashtag COVID happened.
Yep. The next race isn't until the Indianapolis 500 August 23rd. So we only have Formula One and NASCAR to pick. I'm going to take, just so I'm not switching between the two Mercedes cars, I'm going to take Max Verstappen for the 70th anniversary Grand Prix. And for NASCAR, I'm going to take Kevin Harvick. Lita, who you got?
I'm going to go for Hamilton because I forgot to do picks for the last couple of weeks, so I have free reign. So we'll do Hamilton and shoot. Anybody want to throw me anybody for NASCAR? Bueller? Crap.
Chase Elliott usually runs well up there.
And I love Chase Elliott. So, all right, Chase Elliott. There we go. Thank you. If he wins though, can we have Matt give you a half point for helping me?
We'll have to ask Matt when he listens in.
Okay, I flag on the field. Flag on the field. That is unfair.
He only says this because I'm second in points right now.
That is unfair. I'm like last.
Maybe no. I am last. I still have no points. And I keep forgetting to pick, so there's no hope for me. And there's no hope for me because NASCAR, and I'm terrible.
Michael, who you got?
For Formula One, I know I've used my Hamilton card already, so I'm gonna go with Leclerc. He's gonna haul that Ferrari around and score a win.
Oh, he can use it.
Highly doubted, but if anybody can do it, it's him.
Dream big.
And NASCAR, I'm gonna go with Chase Elliott, just because I'm actually kind of on a Chase Elliott kind of renaissance. I guess I don't know the correct term, but I'm starting to like Chase Elliott a lot more than I used to.
Yeah. Leclerc could use some positive mojo after he firmly stuck his foot in his mouth today. That's all I'm going to say about that. We're not getting
Hopefully
into that.
He didn't know what he was talking about, but we'll see.
Yeah, but Lita, thank you so much for joining us. And hey, everyone, tune in Wednesdays to Mimoto. New episode every Wednesday. Check that out. You can also follow that on the Twitter.
At TweetMeMoto.
Yep, at TweetMeMoto, as Lita just said. Michael, thank you so much for joining me. Michael, what is your Twitter handle still the same? Because I tried to search it up earlier and couldn't.
No, it's different. It's Michael_Ward25.
Okay, so Michael. Go ahead.
Yeah, I tried to make it a little bit more professional.
Yeah, so Michael_Ward25. If you want to get in touch with him, I'm at DK Jr. 12. after this, we're going off the air. Head on over to Mixler.com right now to check out NBA bubble basketball between the Toronto Raptors and the LA Lakers. And if you're more into baseball, go on over to check out Blake Henley and Brandon Buckingham on the IE Sports Radio StreamYard page as they are broadcasting Astros at the Diamondbacks. And also, if you want to know about all of our live calls and everything else going on with IE Sports Radio, check out our Twitter, check out our website, iesportsradio.com. Remember, if you missed any, or also Facebook and Instagram as well, and if you missed any episode of any IE Sports Radio show, check out IE Sports Radio anywhere where podcasts can be heard. With that being said, for Lita and Michael, I am Darryl. This has been The Extra Mile. We will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.